All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Close and Conquer. I might have the best closer that I've met in person in general over all my years. Barbara Corcoran, how you doing, Barbara?
Doing very well. I'm sure I'm not the best closer you've ever met.
I'm going to tell you what. I'll tell you why. If out of all the people I've met, if they were all launching a company and they wanted me to come work with them, for them, to explode the company, and I thought that they saw it like I did, like I want to mother freaking dominate, you are the best closer.
Only if I cared about dominating.
There you go. Only if you care about dominating. Exactly. Well, first of all, thanks for joining us. So, our massive, unbelievable audience of people, the majority of them they're independent. They're kind of eat what you kill, commission-based people. They're working this as a second job, but whatever they're doing, real estate, solar, pest control. They sell construction materials.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. So we have all these different people.
Most of those people I saw today?
Everybody you saw today is selling life insurance.
Wow. But are they all part-time?
I bet you that 75% are full-time,
Wow.
25% are part-time.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so we got a good, but on the podcast, what we've gotten is a lot of people that are like, hey, man, I'm doing this or I'm doing this, but I just want to learn more about closing and conquering. And matter of fact, when I launched the podcast, I called it Punch Me in the Face. And after about 6 months, I was talking to some people that are much better at this, have a much bigger following, and the guy said, isn't it hard to talk about punch me in the face in every podcast? And I was like, yeah, it is. He's like, well, why don't you pick something that you love talking about? In closing, I love talking about. In conquering, I would love talking about. So, and for me, a big part was closing and conquering myself. Now, you just got done for an hour, and a lot of these folks who are listening to this didn't get to see that. And you talked a lot about your resilience. Matter of fact, that story you shared about the Shark Tank. Like, I never knew that. I just assumed, actually, I didn't know there was that many people. I assumed they picked you guys.
So did I.
Yeah. Could you tell our listeners that story? Can we start there? Because it was such an unbelievable story, and I don't want them to miss out on that.
Yes, of course. I didn't know we could be redundant here. Can we?
100%.
Oh, that frees me up. I don't want to bore people.
No.
All right. So I was asked to join Shark Tank, pitch the show, and I signed a contract right away. They sent it out. They wanted me, and I was so excited. I told all my friends I was going to Hollywood. I could see it. I knew it was going to happen. I saw the whole vision of who I was going to be in this next career, and I was looking for a next career. And then I got a message from the woman who worked for Mark Burnett, who's the biggest producer in Hollywood, who called me and said, sorry, we've changed our mind. We've hired another woman. I just couldn't believe it, like she was making something up. But she was being truthful, and I said, it's impossible. I already signed the contract. And she said, but we didn't. And then I realized I had a problem. So I was going to feel sorry for myself because I had envisioned it. And when I envision something, it always comes true. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And then I sat down and wrote him an email. And I said, I'm paraphrasing, but it's pretty close to it. I put, Dear Mark, I consider your rejection a lucky charm. Everything in my life happened on the heels of rejection. When Sister Stella Marie told me I'd always be stupid, I learned how to read, because I'm not telling the story as good, right? Second go around.
You're doing great.
Okay.
No, you're doing great.
When Sister Stella Marie told me I'd always be stupid because I couldn't learn to read or write, I am a reader and writer today. I can do it. She was wrong. When the old boy network said I could never compete and take a piece of their empire, I became the #1 rival. When Donald Trump said I'd never see a penny of $1 million in commission that he owed me, I collected every penny in federal court. I consider your rejection a lucky charm. Why didn't you invite both women out to compete for the lone female seat? And that's what he did. And that's how I got my job on Shark Tank.
So when he brought you out, because you didn't talk about this earlier, when he brought you out, when that happened, what was the competition? Like, what did he do? I'm just curious. Like, you both sat there?
We both sat on part of the set.
Okay.
We both sat on the set
Together?
for part of the day. No, not together. There was only one seat.
Got it.
So we were tried out. Okay.
Got it.
I couldn't believe I actually won the seat because I hardly had anything to say. I remember Kevin and Robert had already been on Shark Tank.
Oh, they were in there, so you went in with
all the sharks. We sat in a regular set and we
Okay.
started filming a show.
Got it.
And so they wanted to see how we performed. I thought I was terrible, but by the end of the day, I had won the seat.
Now,
go figure.
did the Sharks have input on that too? The current
No,
Sharks?
not at all.
No,
It was
not
a
at all.
producer's call on that, totally.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good for you. So we struggle, a lot of us, mindset, resilience. You talked a lot about that today. You talked about how you developed your resilience. You seem to still have this appropriate kind of chip on your shoulder, if you will, right? Like Yeah, I mean, like, the nun and the whole deal, and you're gonna be dumb, and always trying to prove what you can do, and when people counted you out, because a lot of it is, when I had this, you wouldn't see a dollar. I sued this, I wouldn't get $1 million listing. Can you help everybody, everybody on here and everybody watching and listening to the podcast? I believe we all struggle with the same thing,
Oh, it's a version of it. Everybody's
Yeah.
got their gig that they grew up and things weren't ideal. I mean, a lot of people think that people come into the workforce, everything on this side. I don't find that to be the case. Most people have shtick that they're dealing with. But in my mind, an insult can be your greatest advantage. I believe my whole career has been one long attempt to prove to the world that Sister Stella Marie was wrong. I still worry about being not smart, but I've been proving it again and again. See how smart I am, see how smart I am. So would I have had that fire in my belly if I wasn't insulted? No, I think a chip on the shoulder takes you a long way.
And I think we talk a lot about, and I loved your answer, because I was trying to, how do you get people to be more vulnerable, be more transparent? You kind of said, like, that's a tall order. Like, how about just go be you? And talk to us about, because that was one of the most powerful things you said. Because I'm thinking, I wish I should just start saying be you, because that's a better answer than go do this and go be more outgoing and share all these things about your personal life. And who gives a fuck what anybody thinks? And that's how I feel. But mine comes from my own bullshit and being counted out and trauma, and that's how I lived, and that's how I coped, and that's how I survived. How do you help, because you did such a great job talking about it, explaining to people? I love your analogy with real estate. Like, this one did this and this one, like, how do you help people in the sales industry just be themselves?
I think you have to size up the person you're working with, your salesperson, as to what they do well, and really grossly exaggerate and underline it and try to make it their forte. And I think everybody, if you just get on the other side of the fence, who do we all trust? It's people that you think you're getting the real deal. I mean, I've trusted and loved the wackiest people that I had no business really liking, not the type I thought I would ever like. And yet I find myself so affectionate about them because they're so real. They make no apologies for who they are. They just act themselves. And so I saw my salespeople through the ranks when they were closer to who they actually were. They did very well. It was the people reaching and trying to be this person, that person. I fell for it myself. I remember going through a year of my career as a young woman. I think I was 27. I got bouffant hairstyles because the big brokers had bouffant hairstyles. I thought, I better get fancy. I don't look the part. I better get fancy. But it didn't fit me. People see right through that shit, So I think you just have to teach people to be yourself. People are going to like you if you sell. Pour it on. You gave a great analogy about you talking about your mother, and what you did for you, how you felt about it to another mother buying insurance. Who wouldn't relate to that? That wasn't an act. If you had made it up, you wouldn't have gotten the sale. They would have seen right through that shit, right?
Correct.
Yeah, but you were quite sincere. Well, look at you. Look who's talking here. Mr. Authentic himself.
Yep. Yeah, I try to be.
When did you get that suit?
I don't know when I got it.
Give it back.
I know. You know what's funny? I used to think, I'm a big fan of wearing shorts and T-shirts only. And I think
I'd like to see those legs.
I got some legs. I don't got a lot going on. I got some legs. And I never really thought about this, but like I was on this mission where like I'm so blue collar, fuck everybody. And even when I didn't want a job that I had to dress up. Seriously, like I literally wouldn't. Like when I got my job at the state and graduated from college, like I was like, I'm gonna play baseball the rest of my life, and that's what they're gonna pay me to play. And then it's like, okay, wait a minute, I'm gonna go do something else. Okay, cool, I'm gonna get a job. I'm like, how do I have to dress? And the guy's like, I don't know, like jeans and T-shirt. Like, dude, we're okay. You're going out in the field meeting with clients. I was like, cool, I'm good with that. And then like to your military analogy, I went to the police academy, but I didn't.
You look like a cop, actually.
Yeah.
You look like a bad cop.
That's why they got rid of me, because I
really seriously.
Yes, 100%.
Sorry, I said that.
No, you don't have to feel. If somebody had put their hands on me, I'd have beaten the shit out of them. That's not okay. And if somebody had treated me the way some people get treated, I don't have the ability to turn around. And I actually end up tackling a guy that was a victim, not a perpetrator, because he was running out the house in a domestic violence incident, and they arrested me for that.
You're lucky not to be in jail.
I'm lucky not to be in jail. Well, that's what I said. I said, if I keep this job, I'm going to go to jail.
Yeah.
So I became a social worker. They didn't give me a gun. No.
So crazy, so different, the
I
opposite.
know, but I actually was a good social worker. Child protective service worker. I love kids. I love families. As long as you were working for your kids, I was great. Did that 14 years. But I really never saw myself as a businessman. So I got my real estate license when I was there, but only because my mother, when I was 10 or 11, my mother got a real estate license, okay? Talking about the hair, the Aquanet, the suit. My mother, we didn't have any money. But I remember my mother being really excited. She looked different. She dressed up. She was still working her jobs. She was going to open houses, and I didn't know anything about it. I was a kid. And I was learning about. I go to the office, and then the phone, and these floor duty, and I had the open house and a listing, and all stuff I was learning. And my neighbors, who all lived in an apartment complex, would always talk shit about it, and they'd be like, "Carrie." Because there's no way it's that easy. If it was that easy, everybody would do it. Why are you going to waste your time getting a real estate license? Nobody's going to list their properties with you. You don't even have a house. And it wasn't like she was selling apartments. We were not living in a nice apartment, right? And
They were saying this about you?
They were saying it about my mother.
Oh.
But I could hear
Was she
them.
anything like you?
No.
Oh.
No, not at all.
Okay.
And I love my mother with all my heart and soul. So my mother would listen. And I would think, like, don't listen to them. They're stupid. They're broke as we are. Why are we listening to them? And I'll never forget when she quit. No. Yep, she didn't. She might have made a small sale or so, and that was it. And I remember saying, well, why did you, give up your license, Ma? As a young kid, I was just excited. And I wasn't even excited like we're going to have a better life. I was excited for her.
Because you saw the difference in her.
Because I saw the difference in her. And I saw the way she was treated. Because back then, in the 70s and 80s, women at their jobs, because I watched it, the way her boss spoke to her, they wanted her to work. They didn't call up and ask her. They called up, and they went straight up, and I'd be like, he can't talk to you like that, Ma. And she'd be like, that's my job. And I'm thinking, that's wrong, And she quit. So I actually got my real estate license only because she got hers, and she gave it up. I wasn't like, oh, my God, I'm going to make a bunch of money.
You were getting even for her.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I started selling. I was like, this shit's pretty easy. And then I went from residential to commercial, did both, and I actually built a real estate company, not. If the real estate company was that was yours, I'll touch your water, give it back. This was yours. Mine was less than 1/8 of this cap. But I still had a real estate company, built it, sold it, and I did pretty well. But I never my motivation was I was angry, So when you see people, because if I was on Shark Tank, I'd feel proud to be like, I think she'd pick me because I would, no matter what I had to do.
No, I'd be
it.
afraid of you. I wouldn't pick you.
Man, well then I would try to tone it down. I'd send you an email and tell you I'm not near as intimidating as you think I am.
I would say, this is the guy who's not even going to return my call. I'm sure of it.
Oh, I'd return your phone call in a minute. So, what's your best advice? Because you see so many people and they come in broken. Because I always thought the Shark Tank were all these really successful. When I first started watching, I thought they were all these very successful businessmen and businesswomen. They were just trying to scale their business. I didn't realize they were just
looking
Tom
for
and
the
Susan.
cash. Yeah.
Yeah, I need the money.
Yes.
Like I may have an idea, I might not. And we talked about this, but I'd love you to talk about this company because I hadn't heard of them, and now I'm going to go online and look them up. But one that really surprised you, and don't worry about the redundancy. These people haven't heard it yet.
Yes.
What's your biggest success? Is that your
That is my biggest
okay,
success.
So your
I wish they were all that successful.
Your biggest success and your biggest surprise
was Comfy. Yeah.
And can you tell our viewers what that was about?
Two guys walked in with an oversized sweatshirt that they had made at home. It had a big pocket in the front, a hood in the back, and they didn't know how much it cost them to make it or what it would cost to make if they did many of them. They didn't know what they'd sell it for. They didn't know where they'd sell it. They knew nothing. They answered all the questions to all the sharks wrong. It was like a big zero for their presentation, and every shark went out right away, like within 5 minutes they were all out. And I said, I'll give you $50,000. That's how they named the price they're looking for. But I want a third of your business because I thought these guys are charming. Give them a break. I like them. And I could lose $50,000 and I could have a beer with them. They looked like they'd be a lot of fun.
It's only $50,000, so why not?
So they sold, what was the number, $458,000 in 4 years. Yeah, it's amazing. They didn't know what they were doing, but they had the belief. They believed they had something like gold in their hand, and they just couldn't imagine people not wanting it.
Wait a minute.
And everybody
How much did they
wanted
sell in
it.
that many years?
456,000.
6 million.
A million.
No, it's
Oh my
okay.
God.
Million. That's okay.
Million.
No,
that's
but
a small detail.
Hey, let me be clear. Even
Yeah.
to get $50,000 and go do $500,000, they
Yeah.
did 400
million.
million
Yeah.
in sales.
Yep. They
And what
bought
had they
new
done
houses.
in sales before they met you?
They had no sales
They
when
had
they were on
made a
Shark Tank.
sweatshirt for themselves to wear.
Before they met me, it wasn't like I made them. I virtually did nothing for these guys, quite honestly. They did it all for themselves. All I did was act like I believed in them. And I wasn't quite sure I really believed in them, but I sure acted that way, and they did it all themselves.
You know I was asking. I went to college, played baseball, so I was a social work major. That's how I made social work. And then I went back to get my master's degree because I wanted to play football, and I realized I was older and slower
You
than I
look
was
more
earlier.
like a football.
Yeah, I was better at football. And but I had a professor in graduate school, and it was small, so Eastern Connecticut State, Central Connecticut State is what I could afford. And I said, what causes people to have a low self-image? And he said, the lack of unconditional love.
Oh, wow, I believe that.
And I was like, well, and then over my life, I'm like, dude, that's like true. Like that's what people, but you, and it's funny because all those men and women you saw in there, and someone would be like, oh my God, Sean did so much for me. I just believed in him. I actually didn't do, I believed in him. Maybe they had a problem here, but I believed in him.
In front of that room, you exude love. I
love
watched
him.
everybody's faces. They were all like, you looked like you were giving unconditional love.
I love them.
Yeah.
They're great.
It's
I do
obvious.
anything for them.
Yeah.
You know, you provide that, and then you watch and see what people do. But isn't it crazy that two guys can come in with no plan? They're fun. You give them 50 grand, but your belief in them was much more valuable than mine.
Oh, yes. And they also had a great mother. The mother always told them when she saw somebody striking it rich, she'd say, why not you? Ask yourself, why not me? And they asked themselves, they said, we're going to be rich, and they are.
Isn't that crazy?
But the mother's love did probably play, I never really thought about it, but probably played a very important part in
so
the
did
success.
my mother's.
Yeah.
My mother loved me no matter what. I get
Yeah.
arrested, she picked me up. I'd be like, the cuffs are she'd be like, I love you. No matter what. She might be mad, she might discipline me, she did her thing, but it was always like there was not a day in my life growing up under her roof that she didn't say she loved me.
Don't you think
Not a
when
day.
people have the foundation of good love from a parent, they come out strong, no matter what they
Yeah.
might look like, they just can rebound better. I do
100%.
believe that.
100%.
Yeah.
Because it builds you. So you look at the world today, right? Because we went through COVID, life insurance. I didn't ask for COVID, but we grew immensely.
I'm wondering how that affected your business.
Oh my God, went through the roof because everybody started talking about mortality. Everybody. So because the biggest,
Gee,
the
who
biggest
saw that
obstacle-
train coming, right?
Not
Whoa,
me.
yeah.
And when it happened, we're like, what are we going to do? Because we were in home. So everything we did was in home at that time. So we went from 85% of our deals being, we call you up, we come to your house, we walk in
That's
there,
the
we sit
way
down.
I still picture it. It's not that way. Is
No, it's virtual. Now we're 85% over the phone or Zoom. But I'll never forget when people started calling us, they're like, well, you can't go out in the home anymore. And I'm like, well, first of all, social distance isn't social distancing, and I don't know how close y'all got to your clients, but I can sit on the other side of town. Like, we're going to keep doing what we got to do as long as we're socially responsible. We're going to go to work. And I had never bought into the virtual model because I'm like, this is better.
Yes.
This works better.
I do believe it's better person
Me
to
too.
person, but you learn differently.
Yes. And then we went from like, okay, this is where we are to being very solution focused. How have you helped people? Because you talked a lot about it, complaining, negativity. I mean, everything you said. How do you help people be solution focused and not problem focused?
Getting over themselves. I mean, if you're a manager of someone and you have, of course, insurance managers, they're managing people every day. I don't think you have to take, when someone believes that there's an obstacle there, just the act that you're in charge or you're the supervisor, you dismiss, nothing, don't worry about that. Let's focus on what we could do about it. I think you are in a very powerful position to get them to look elsewhere. And it's just turning their gaze this way instead of getting stuck on where they're stuck on.
And it's funny because business is not as complicated as people make it up.
No, I know.
And the greatest gift I got was getting around people that had done really well. And they weren't as transparent and vulnerable as you. But over the course of time, I'm like, they're just people.
You made
Okay.
them your friends and you got to know
Yes.
them and what was involved. Yeah.
Yes. And then they wanted to mentor people, so they wanted to be taught. They wanted people to listen to them, and I was willing to listen because they had information. And I always understood those relationships, right? I tell people when I was growing up, the coaches that were around me were good male role models for me because I had my mom, and a lot
And
of
you
the
didn't
coaches.
have your dad at home.
My dad was definitely not at home. No, I've
Wow.
rekindled a relationship with my dad. I hadn't talked to him in a decade. Put a phone called him 3 years ago. That's a totally different podcast. I've had him on a podcast twice. That's a trip.
Wow.
Oh yeah, that's a trip. And but
It's
you
like
know what?
public therapy.
It's exactly what it is. Very therapeutic for both of us. And but I remember somebody said to me, "Why? Like, do you think Coach so and so why does he care so much about you?" I said, "He doesn't." And I said, "What do you mean?" I go, "I'm good at football or baseball. His son's on the team. He coaches. He wants to win. He didn't buy me cleats because and I'm not being mean. I think the dude was a good dude, but he didn't wake up going like, I want to make Sean Mike's life better. He grew up going, I want to make my son's life better. Sean Mike makes my son's life better when they play in the same team. Listen, we weren't playing in Cuba for the national championship. We were good, but it was like there was plenty of better people than us. But I was good for his team. So I got as much information for that season as I could. And when the season was over, he moved on with his life.
He wasn't bothering to call you to see how you are.
No, but I accepted that relationship or those relationships. Like, and I'm going to use you just like you're going to use me. And you talked about this today, finding like that was my strength. My strength growing up was not, I didn't like school. You know, I was on a plane the other day and I'm like, because I always joke about math. And I said to my pilots, I said, how do you know we can't land?
Did you just hear what you said?
Yeah.
I said to one of my pilots,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is cool. I didn't mean to say that. Yeah, they are my pilots. Yeah, they're great. And he said the wind shear will crash if we land here. And I was like, well, how do you know? And he broke down the math. And I go, I guess math's important for some people. Like, I'm not, but, you know.
I'm happy he has it.
Me too, because I don't, right? But you said find, because I was like, how do you said identify, like, their greatest strength, I think is the way you said it. Like, everybody's got one. Can you reiterate for everybody? Because a lot of people work with people, try to hire people, coach people, athletics, they invest in businesses. How do you help people kind of find that thing, or how do you identify that?
I think calling their attention to that they have some special strength and pointing it out. I don't think I ever met with anyone where I didn't say, you know what you've got? You've got charisma. Do you know you have charisma? People are going to go with you just because they like you. Do you know how likable you are? The more you expose yourself, you're going to attract people to you. Whatever that thing is, you've got it's great stamina. You keep going back. That's incredible. You know, just exaggerating and putting a big light on it so they go, whoa, I do. And sometimes it's letting them know something that is so different than what they're doing for a living, that's so far askance from what they're doing for a living, that you turn their head in that direction and make that their job, that you can do this job phenomenally. Would you like to try it out? I think it's really just slowing down and pointing out to the person that they've got a gift. You know, my mother was incredible that way. I learned it from her because she would bring in each kid home from the hospital and announce their gift on day one. I remember when she brought my brother Tommy home from the hospital. I was about 11, and she said to me, she said, you know, Tommy is going to be a magnificent dancer. And I remember a kid then thinking,
At what day he was brought home?
the day he was brought home, but a magnificent, it's kind of very specific, right? And so I remember thinking, wow, a dancer in our family, that's cool. Like thinking I was more important with having a dancer. And you know what? She based that prediction just on the fact he had really fat legs. He kicked like hell. And, you know, she made him perform the dancing his whole life, and he became a ballet dancer for a very prestigious Alvin Alley Dance Theater in New York, which is not an easy theater to get into, but he became a phenomenal dancer because my mother told him that. Now, I wish I could have danced. I would think I would have been very happy as a dancer, but I don't think it was me. She told me, you have a wonderful imagination. Don't worry about your reading. You'll figure it all out. I would have liked to get some reading help maybe, but she didn't have the time with 10 kids around, you know.
Yeah.
But telling me I had a wonderful imagination made me realize I do have a wonderful, I daydreamed all day. I did the chalk games on the streets. All the kids wanted to play on my chalk games because they were more spectacular than everybody. I opened the rock stores. I could think of an idea a minute, and my mother fueled it. So if it's true of children, to group up children, like what do they have, and acknowledge what they have and ignore what they don't have, which she was very good at, that was kind of second nature to me to meet somebody and think, wow, what do they got? You know, it's like a juicy box you open up.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Day one.
Yeah.
Day one.
And she was accurate, believe it or not. She told my sister, Ellen, you'll be a phenomenal nurse. She's a nurse. I mean, it's not like she aspired to be, but she's so caring and loving, and she went right down the line. Eddie, who was hell on wheels, she said, you'll be a born leader. Well, he led the wrong gang, but eventually he became a great citizen.
But he was a great leader.
He's a great leader.
I mean, he was great. Even with the wrong
Now
gang, he was a
good,
great
yeah,
leader.
Right. So she nailed everybody. So it was a very easy thing for me to bring into business. It seemed like a natural thing to do.
I guess that's the epitome of mother's intuition.
Yeah.
Wow.
I guess that's mother's
Amazing.
intuition.
That's
yeah.
powerful.
Well, also mother's attitude of loving their child and seeing the positive. I mean, she could have really focused on the negatives. It was just as easy. If you had a fight in my family and you went to my mother saying, Tommy did this or Johnny did this or whatever, you were both punished. That was her rule. You both got punished.
Really?
So you never went back again. You learned to settle your own arguments because she just didn't want the nonsense. She wanted to focus on the positive.
Wow.
Yeah, she's
That's
a great
amazing.
mother. I mean, a great mother.
Well, she's a great daughter.
Yeah,
So.
you're right about that.
I know I am.
And
Thank
she
you.
thought she had a good daughter.
She was right.
Except one with only imagination and really good at bullshit is what she
Taking
said.
you a long way. No doubt about it. Speaking of that, we did, which was probably one of the funnest things we've done. We've been doing these events for 10 years. I'm big on competing. I could care less. Matter of fact, you're like, let's see if they want to
Record
work
this.
for me. Yep. Let's see.
Get your phone out.
Let's see if they want to work for me or you. I'm like, no, I'm work for you. So I'm totally good with that. But we have had Kevin. And we have had Damon.
Record the whole thing. Listen to this, Kevin and Damon.
All. She's got it all. Emily got it all. Okay. Well, this is true, by the way, and this actually happened, so we have plenty of video proof. I think we're big on speaker surveys, but speaker surveys, like you send them out, you don't know how you get them back, and they're in a bad mood, they're not in a bad mood,
And
they're not
people who
responding.
don't like it don't speak up. That's
There
what's
you
wrong with them.
go. So I'm like, all right, you know what? We're going to Eminem and 8 Mile this motherfucker, right? That's what we're going to do. That's how we did it. So we're like, we're going to let the audience choose. We're going to let the audience choose. And if they didn't hear Kevin or Damon, they still got to see the video, right? So they've seen it. They've seen Kevin. They've seen Damon. They've seen you. And we let them pick. Now, I went Kevin first because you can't do 3 at one time. That's a battle. Like rap battles is like you, Tom, Tim, and you rattle, and then you move up. So we're like, who thought Kevin was the best out of the 3? Now, Barbara, how many people did you hear cheer?
I refuse to say it.
Okay,
I feel sorry for Kevin.
It was he wasn't in the race. He wasn't in the race.
He's
He wasn't in the
definitely not
race.
in
So
there.
Kevin was not in the race. Then we asked Damon. We had some people that cheered for Damon, right? We had even a couple guys in the front. They were good for them. So they listened to you, and they weren't mad, but they were like, and then 99% of the crowd went freaking crazy and voted for you.
Yeah, because I paid them all off.
No. Now here's what I'll say. First of all, they're all great. Everybody's great. Kevin's great. Damon's great. It was great. I do think though, when you're able to, and it's funny because I've had a lot of speakers, and then Andrew's telling me a couple times, he's like, hey, you have these notes for Barbara. I'm like, okay. You have these notes for me. I'm like, he's like, dude, this is what she wants to talk about. I'm like, okay, got it. But it was great because it was like, okay, that's where she's going to kill it. And it made it a lot easier, the Q&A, and it was, and I just didn't want to screw it up.
I didn't know that.
job.
I thought you made up all those questions. I
No.
didn't know we gave you the questions.
Yeah, I made up some at the end.
I
but-
would have studied them.
What's that?
If I knew the questions came from our office, I would have
You
studied
didn't need
them.
to. You crushed it. I assumed you did because you were hammering it. But we really, I appreciate you being on here. And I think for those that are trying to close and conquer themselves before they do everything else, a lot of what you talk about, your resilience, your mindset, because it is everything. The business, you can grow up thinking it's so mystical. I can remember being a kid and going like, I'd watch dads get on airplanes, like one of their friends, and I thought it was like the coolest thing ever. I'm like, they fly, like I thought it was crazy. I'm like, they go to the airport and they fly to their job and they have a job, like it's so cool. And now I'm like, how many days do I got to fly this week? Like, you know what I mean?
Let me tell you, having your own plane makes a difference.
It makes a.
You're
it
not
makes-
complaining.
Why didn't we fly you here? You flew your own plane here.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
I don't own a plane. I'm not as rich as you
Well,
are.
yeah.
Or if I was, I
Did-
wouldn't spend the money.
I know you're smarter
Plus, you're
than
like
me.
$2
You're
million
smarter
a
than
year
me.
to even have a small plane. I know what the numbers
Yes.
are. Yeah,
Yes.
that's a lot of money. To
Well,
go out.
we would have flown you here.
Well, now you tell
We
me,
flew
Big Shot.
everybody else. Did we not
Now,
tell
Big
them?
Shot.
Emily, did we not say we would do that? God, I'm sorry. Next time you speak,
and
and there will be a
your
next
pilots
time.
are good at math, so I'd be
They're
very secure.
super good at math. They're great guys. So, I just, you breathe life into people, man. You breathe it into me, the people that work
You
with
have
me.
a great team, though.
Yeah.
I mean, I said to you, and I'll say it now again, I thought it was a religious group. They were like,
No, man. We're just
Yeah.
crazy.
they're dedicated.
Rabid.
They're believers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you
You
said,
have a new career. You could be a minister.
we're getting. Yeah, I don't think I passed that test.
Give me your money. I'm a minister.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. I don't think I'm qualified at all to be anybody's pastor. I'm just trying to do better every day. But Barbara, it was an absolute honor to spend time with you.
A blast
and
for me.
I'm
And thank you for that
blown
final
away.
vote. I'm so competitive. I've never won a contest
Oh,
like
you
that.
crush these guys. So you can keep the tape, send it wherever you want. But your humility and your connectivity with everybody, and everybody in there just feels like they can.
Easy crowd to talk to. Everybody was smiling the minute I sat on the stage, smiling. Man, these people are okay.
But like you said, I don't want to be in business with people I don't like that aren't happy.
Yeah.
If you're not happy, go home.
Well, they like you back for
Yeah,
sure.
you better believe it.
Yeah.
And if not, like you said, I don't want 15 in a row and 8 don't want to be there.
Mm-hmm.
There's the door, bro. You just turn your ass around and walk right out it.
Do
and
me
don't
a favor
come back.
and buy back your business.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
just- it's just a baby.
Okay.
You
got
wait till
it.
you see where it
Got
goes.
it. I'll work on that. You work on
Okay.
getting me on Shark Tank. How do I get
Okay.
on Shark Tank? Can you
Is
get me
it-
as a guest host? How do I get on there?
You know what?
What?
Well, let me propose that.
I mean
But
it.
send me a tape.
I'll crush
send
it.
me
I
a
got a
tape of
sizzle
this.
reel.
Okay,
Yeah, I'll
good.
send you this and a sizzle reel.
Clay
But you
Newville.
gotta-
I'll propose it to Clay
Please
Newville.
do.
I don't decide, but he decides. I'll send it to him.
You can put a word in for me, though.
Of course.
I'll do a great
I
job.
don't even have to because he could see what you're like.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah,
So, but
a lot of
Barbara,
energy.
you're an absolute
Thank
pleasure
you
to be
so
around
much.
and unbelievably successful, but just a great person. So
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thanks
I
for
love being
watching,
here.
guys. Appreciate you. Like, subscribe, share. Vote for Barbara. She's the best. Share it with somebody who needs to hear it. If you like this, go to the next video we drop too. You'll love that one as well. So talk to you soon.